Okay, I was just working with a student who is in 6th grade, and they have started out the semester working with greatest common factors and least common multiples. And I thought I would do just a little video to kind of explain the difference between the two. I've found what teachers will generally do is teach students how to find the greatest common factor and the least common multiple, but they don't always have an understanding of what it is they're actually finding. So first of all, let's talk about what the difference between a multiple and a factor is. If we want to list the multiples of 6, the multiples of 6 are all of the numbers that 6 will go evenly into. So I can find the multiples of 6 just by multiplying. 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12, 6 times 3 is 18, and so forth. So the multiples of 6 would be 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, and we could go on and on and on forever, right? Multiples never end. They just keep going on and on. We could find as many multiples as we wanted to. Factors of 6 are the numbers that will evenly go into 6, that can be divided evenly into 6. And most people normally list factors in pairs. So what are the ways that you can multiply whole numbers and get 6 as a product? Well, 1 times 6, so 1 and 6 are factors, and then we can also multiply 2 times 3. So the factors of 6 would be 1, 2, 3, and 6. Those are all of the numbers that will go into 6. So when we start thinking about the least common factor, the least common multiple and the greatest common factor, let's look at these two numbers. Let's do 12 and 18. So if I want to find the least common multiple of 12 and 18, what I'm looking for is the smallest common shared multiple. So in order to find the smallest shared multiple, one way I could do it is just list out multiples of each number until I find one that is shared. So the multiples of 12 would be 12, 12 times 1, 12 times 2, 12 times 3, 12 times 4, 12 times 5, 12 times 6, 12 times 7, 12 times 8, and that might be enough. Now let's list the multiples of 18. We have 18 times 1, 18 times 2, 18 times 3, 18 times 4, 18 times 5, 18 times 6. That's right. Nope. Yeah. Nope, right here's my mistake. 18 times 5, 18 times 6. There we go. And then, so the least common multiple, I want the shared number that both 12 and 18 will go into. So it looks like the least common multiple is here, 36. So the least common multiple, the smallest shared multiple, the smallest number that is a multiple of both 12 and 18 is 36. And another way of saying that is the smallest number that both 12 and 18 will go into evenly. So 12 will go into 36 3 times, 18 will go evenly into 36 2 times. So 36 is the least common multiple between 12 and 18. Now, let's think about greatest common factor. So the greatest common factor of 12 and 18, we would need to start out by listing the factors of 12. So the factors of 12 would be 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. So the factors of 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. Sometimes you'll list them out like this. Some people prefer to list them out like this, in pairs. But I like to go from smallest to largest, but either way is fine. And then we want to list all of the factors of 18. So the factors of 18, these are 12. Factors of 18 would be 1 times 18, 2 times 9, 3 times 6. And those are all of the ways that you can multiply and get 18 using whole numbers. So now the greatest common factor is the largest shared number in those two lists. So they have lots of factors in common. They both have a 1. They both have a 2. They both have a 3. They both have a 6. So those are all common factors, but what we want is the greatest common factor. And of those 4 factors that they have in common, the greatest common factor is 6. So your greatest common factor of those 2 would be 6. Now, if you're learning this with a factor tree or a factor ladder, this is what it's going to look like. And again, this goes back to, this is an algorithm, and it works, but if you don't understand what it is you're doing, then that's going to cause problems for you down the road. So let's think about what this would look like if you're using an algorithm. We're going to start with 12 and 18, and we're going to use the ladder method. So I'm going to start with a prime number that I know will go into both 12 and 18. Remember, your prime numbers are the numbers that only have itself and 1 as a factor. So that would be 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, and we could keep going on and on forever. The only way I can get 2 by multiplying whole numbers is 2 times 1. The only way I can get 3 by multiplying 2 whole numbers is 3 times 1. 4 is not a prime number because 4 is 4 times 1 and 2 times 2. But 5 is a prime number because 5 times 1 is 5, and there's no other way that I can get 5 by multiplying 2 whole numbers. 6 would not be a prime number because it's 1 times 6 or 2 times 3. So I'm going to start with a prime number that goes into both 12 and 18, and that would be 2. I could have started with 3, but I like to start with the smallest. And then I'm going to divide. 2 goes into 12 6 times, 2 goes into 18 9 times. And then I'm going to go again if I can. Is there another prime number that will go into both 6 and 9? Well, I can't use 2 because 2 won't go into 9, but I can use 3. So 3 will go into 6 2 times, 3 will go into 9 3 times. And then once I can't do any more dividing by prime numbers, I know I'm done. When all I have down here is prime numbers, I'm finished. Or when I have just one prime number, I'm finished. So now, the way the algorithm teaches you is to find the least common multiple. You're going to take all of the numbers on the outside. So the least common multiple is going to be what's left over here is going to be 2 times 3 times 2 times 3, which is 36. So your least common multiple, the smallest number that both 12 and 18 will go into is 36. The greatest common factor, if you're using the algorithm or just the method, the greatest common factor is just the numbers straight down. So your greatest common factor is 6. That means the greatest shared factor of the two numbers, the greatest number that will go into both 12 and 18. So the least common multiple is the smallest, the least number that both 12 and 18 will go into. Greatest common factor is the largest number that will go into, that can be divided into both 12 and 18. So knowing how to find the least common multiple and the greatest common factor is important. But more important than that is understanding what the greatest common factor and the least common multiple are. Hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. If you've got something you don't understand, feel free to send me a question. You can email me at jtalbertmath@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to do an explanatory video for something that you are working on.